Good morning there, RosterWatch Nation. It's your friendly neighborhood trash man. Back to talk NFL football and its implications on fantasy. You know, that's what I'm here for. That's what we're all here for. So let's go ahead and get started. The Bears have signed quarterback Case Keenum to a one-year, $3 million contract. Case Keenum, who most recently played for the Houston Texans in 2023. Before that, the Buffalo Bills in 2022. Before that, the Cleveland Browns from 2020 to 2021. Before that, the Washington Redskins in 2019. Before that, the Denver Broncos in 2018. Before that, the Minnesota Vikings in 2017. Arguably his best season in the NFL. Led the team to an 11-3 record. As a starter, 22 touchdowns and 7 interceptions with a 98.3 passer rating. So not a bad season for him in 2017. Wasn't with the Vikings the year before that. He's with the Rams from 2014 to 2016. Before that, he was with the Texans from 2012 to 2014. So he's the definition of journeyman. And well, I think that this signing it's not competition for Caleb Williams. We know that. Case Keenum is not competition for Caleb Williams. Case Keenum is there to help bring Caleb Williams along, to help groom him, if you will, for the NFL. You know, that's why he's brought back to the Texans in 2023 to help out CJ Stroud. The Bears are hoping he'll do the same for Caleb Williams. It's a fine signing. I mean, the rest of the depth chart at quarterback for the Bears is as follows. It's Tyson Bagent or Bagent, however you want to say it, and then Austin Reed. So it makes sense to get a veteran who's started NFL games on the roster to help support Caleb Williams. Aren't really any fantasy implications here. I guess the idea, I guess technically if Caleb Williams were to go down, Case Keenum would be fine under center. I don't think it would move the needle too much for the Bears skill players. It's a safety signing. That's what that is. Why do you speak with such a long delay like Alex is in your ear and you're just parroting? Like I would, first of all, I mean, the thing is when you're doing a solo show, you want to think about what you say before you say it. I mean, you want to do that anytime you're talking to anyone. I mean, I'm just not one of those people that says something just to say something, just to fill space. And second of all, I would never parrot anything that Alex would say. If you've been a part of RosterWatch Nation for a while, you'll realize that Alex and I are on opposite ends of whatever spectrum that we could be on as far as our takes on NFL football, or really anything else for that matter. Love Alex. I've known Alex since I've known Alex for over half my life at this point. We were in our first band together in college. That's how we met. But we are entirely different animals. Like we couldn't be more different in the way that we approach most things. So yeah, if somebody's going to be in my ear, it's definitely not going to be Alex. In more football news, the Cardinals signed tight end Trey McBride to a 4-year, $76 million extension. The $19 million average makes McBride the highest paid tight end in NFL history and includes $43 million in guaranteed money. I mean, it's probably rightfully so. I mean, the thing is, any new deal, I mean, whether it be tight end or quarterback or running back and wide receiver, if we're talking about marquee premier skill players, it's probably going to be the highest ever, in every year, following. That's just how it rolls. And as McBride coming into his 4th year, set career highs in targets, receptions, and yardage in 2024. It usually is year 3 that tight ends tend to really come into their own in the NFL. Only caught 6 touchdowns in his 3-year professional career. I don't know if that's on him as much as it is on the guys throwing the ball to him, or the offense matriculating the ball down the field. But not great numbers there. Still, it's a good signing. Trey McBride, arguably the best player on that offense. I mean, going back to joint practices with the Colts last season, everybody wanted me to watch Marvin Harrison Jr. and what he did. And is he the player that we thought he was? Which he's not. I mean, it doesn't look like it. But Trey McBride was the guy who Kyler Murray looked to the most often in that offense. He's a safety blanket. He's a safety blanket who can take the top off at any point. And that's really valuable in the tight end world, especially the tight end world where now you don't have many marquee tight ends. You don't have a lot of guys who you could take in the first round of your draft and people not make fun of you. I mean, I'm not saying Trey McBride is there quite yet. If he had the touchdowns to match his receptions and yards, then yeah, perhaps. But he's close. He's close. And the Cardinals agree. So good on them, tying up arguably their best player. Another signing, or an extension rather, because he's already on the team. The Raiders signed quarterback Geno Smith to a 2-year, $85.5 million extension. Includes $66.5 million in guarantees. Ties him to the franchise through the 2027 season. I mean, this just goes to show that the Raiders see Smith as their solution at quarterback for now and the near future. Even if they were to bring in a rookie at some point in the next couple of years, Geno Smith's going to be that bridge. He's Mr. Reliable now. It's good. It's a feel-good story for Geno, considering how he started out his career. He thought he was one of those players that was just going to fizzle out in the NFL, that played really well in college. I remember him at West Virginia. He was a G. But wasn't sure he was going to cut it in the NFL. Proved a lot of people wrong. Came to life in Seattle. I mean, won a lot of games there. And now imagine he'll keep the Raiders in contention. depending on how else they bolster that offense. They're going to need to get him some more weapons. Brock Bowers not going to cut it solely. I mean, he'll cure a lot of what ails, but they'll need to get him some more weapons for Geno Smith to thrive in that Seattle offense. I mean, and knowing Pete Carroll and with Geno Smith there, he's more of a game manager than he is a game winner. They're going to have good running backs there, at least two of them. Stalwart running backs. Maybe one of them is going to be Austin Jonty. Although, for their purposes, I mean, unless they're going to have like a speed guy and just like a power guy, then I could see them taking a Hampton or Henderson. I mean, or rather Judkins. I think Judkins would be a good fit for the Raiders. Him or Hampton. If you're just looking for like a big body back who can go between the tackles and who's a decent pass catcher. Jonty, to me, I mean, although I think he is the best running back in the draft, he seems more specialized. He seems less of a 3-down guy. To me. He seems like the guy you bring in when you already have your bruiser. When you already have your David Montgomery and you add your Jahmyr Gibbs to the equation, and then it's just fireworks. But good for Geno, good for Case. Old guys making good in the NFL. Old guy maybe not making good. NFL Network's Ian Rappaport believes the Saints could end up taking a quarterback in the draft. It seems obvious that the Saints don't view Carr as a long-term solution for the Saints. There's a chance, so you're saying there's a chance, yes, that they take Colorado's Shedeur Sanders if he falls. Seems unlikely that he will. But at number 9, yeah, that would make sense for the Saints to take him there. They also visited with Jackson Dart. They went to his pro day, and they had Quinn Ewers from Texas hook him for a visit. So they're looking at quarterbacks. Carr has to be shaking in his boots, and he should. It's about time. Give him some competition there. If I were to ask you who has the most championships in NFL history, coaching-wise, who would you say? I mean, it seems pretty obvious, right? Bill Belichick. But that may not be the case anymore. And technically, it's not. What about the quarterback with the most championships in NFL history? Tom Brady? Is that the guy? Well, he's one of them. He's not the only one. Now that the NFL will incorporate AAFC records and stats into the official record book. The NFL announced at league meetings that the statistics from the All-America Football Conference will be incorporated into the league's record books. The records were officially approved by the league's owners on Tuesday. The AAFC existed from 1946 through 1949 as a direct competitor to the NFL before folding. The teams that came out of the AAFC were the Cleveland Browns, Baltimore Colts, and San Francisco 49ers. And so now, Tom Brady is tied with Otto Graham as having the most championships of any player in NFL history. And Bill Belichick has now been eclipsed by Paul Brown to have the most championships won by any coach in NFL history. That has to get Belichick's goat. He's going to be crying on his child bride's pillow tonight. I digress. She's not a child. It's a joke. But maybe this is kind of a setting right. You know, all the perceived scandals involving cheating by the Patriots during the halcyon days of Brady and Belichick. Maybe this is a way of the NFL saying, okay, we get it. Maybe they didn't do it the right way. And so we'll bring in, these other records and it'll kind of set things straight. Maybe that's an aspect of it. Or it could just be that this isn't the first time this has happened. The NFL incorporated the AFL's records when those two leagues merged at the end of the 1969 season. So they're finally doing the same with the AAFC. They're getting their due. Paul Brown's getting his due. Otto Graham's getting his due. And why not? Maybe it'll have some guys looking into some of those older players and what they did in football and for football. Wonder if it'll make Belichick want to come back. Coach one final championship team. Or make Brady want to come out of retirement. Maybe this is all a ploy to get Brady out of retirement so that he can regain his lead, his role as the champion of champions in the NFL. Maybe that's what this is. He can't be happy about it. Being tied with a guy named Otto. It's interesting though, and I think, and now the Miami Dolphins aren't the only perfect team in history. The 1948 Browns went 14-0 in the AAFC. So the Dolphins aren't alone anymore. That 72 Dolphins team, those that are still alive, have to be a little bit upset about this. And those that aren't alive, they're turning in their graves. It's hard to imagine a time when the Browns were the best team in the league, in any league. But there it is. Enjoy your time in the sun, Browns fans. finally getting your due. So I was talking about recently Shedeur Sanders, him possibly going to the Saints. The pick 9. Terminal sarcasms. Cornerback with most championships, Neon Deion Sanders, or someone else. I don't know now. They didn't specify that. I didn't see that in the news. I don't know. I don't know if they identified that position back then. Maybe they did. I'll have to check on that. Peter S. says Belichick will be back next year. He might. Terminal sarcasm. Matt Belichick has enough ego to want to come back to the NFL. It's true. You know, somebody steals your record, you want to get it back. Already bored with UNC, probably. Hey, if there's any impetus for getting Belichick or Brady back into the NFL, this would be it, wouldn't it? I might come back for that. Get my record back. So I wanted to talk about then some of the first round quarterback picks in recent history. I mean, versus, and so the argument here is whether you got stronger quarterbacks in the first round potentially, or stronger running backs. Historically, you're going to get more hits from quarterbacks. I mean, at least in recent years. But let's take a look at it. Okay, so last year, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Michael Penix, J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix, those could all end up being hits. I mean, we don't have a clear miss on any of those guys just yet. I mean, Caleb Williams he's on the verge. But I do think he can turn it around. But if you're Jaden Daniels, that's a hit. Drake May looks like a hit. Michael Penix, verdict is still out, but he looks like he could be the guy. J.J. McCarthy, same. He got hurt, but he looked good. And Bo Nix, I mean, the proof is in the pudding there. 2024 could go down as one of the all-time years for first-round quarterbacks. I mean, that was a lot of them. That was 6. And not one of them is just a bust. 2023, we had Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, and Anthony Richardson. I mean, Bryce Young, some would say the verdict is still out. I tend to err on the side of a miss. I mean, it seems like he started to tighten things up near the end of last season. C.J. Stroud, I mean, if you're just going off his rookie season, that's a hit. I mean, but, as we've seen with rookies sometimes who do well in their first year, second year is not always so hot. And that was the case with Stroud. It didn't help that his wide receiver core was as like musical chairs as far as injury goes. And his offensive line didn't give him any help. So I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt on that one. Richardson, I mean, he's a miss until proven otherwise. I mean, we still don't know if he's the guy. He hasn't made it through a season healthy. And they keep bringing in guys to compete with him, but that aren't the answer either. In 2022, it was just Kenny Pickett, only first-round quarterback picked. And we know how that ended up. With him being the potential starter of the Browns, yeah. But no, he was a miss. He'll get second life as a Brown. Potentially. But so far, he's a miss. 2021, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Mac Jones. Trevor Lawrence, another situation where he started out hot. Not really doing well as of late. He needs to settle down back there. And he needs better teammates. He needs better support. He needs more consistency out of his receiving core, out of his pass catching group, and out of his running backs. Help him out. Zach Wilson, that's a miss. Trey Lance looks like a miss as well. Justin Fields, verdict is out. We had some major games as a Bear, some fantasy winning weeks, but very back and forth there as a Bear in his production. Went to the Steelers, produced in his time as a starter there. Maybe it was the pressure. Maybe they took the pressure off of him, and he flourished until Russell Wilson returned. And now gets a chance with the Jets. And hopefully it works out for him. I think it could be a hit. And then we have Mac Jones, who got worse in his time in the NFL. Looks like a career backup at this point. We'll say that's a miss. In 2020, Joe Burrow, Tua Tagovailoa, Justin Herbert, Jordan Love. These are all hits. 2020, bringing the hits. Joe Burrow is a G. Tua, when he's not concussed, is a pretty good quarterback. If you just stay healthy. Justin Herbert, he's been back and forth, but it looks like he's coming into his own. Looks like that offense is finally starting to find its groove. And then Jordan Love. He's been solid for the Packers. So 2020, best year, I think, so far that I've talked about. And then 2019, Kyler Murray, Daniel Jones, Dwayne Haskins. Murray, we'll see. The biggest hit out of that group, Daniel Jones, a miss. Dwayne Haskins, a miss. God, Haskins was so fun to watch in college, though, wasn't he? 2018, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, Lamar Jackson. Okay, so maybe this isn't the most complete group of first-round quarterbacks, but it might be the best. Just as far as, the biggest hits with Allen and Jackson. These guys are both going to be in the Hall of Fame. Josh Rosen, it's like we never knew ye. Sam Darnold, yeah. I'm inclined to say miss, but he's had his moments. I don't think we're all out on Darnold yet. And then Baker Mayfield, again, another one of these players who we didn't have much hope for start of his career. In Cleveland. It's kind of a guy that you love to hate. And he's turned into, kind of a likable guy there in Tampa Bay. I saw that episode, that show where he dresses up like, it was like Undercover Boss. But, he pretended to be a fan for Tampa Bay, prosthetic nose, everything. Go hang out with his fans. It was pretty cool. I mean, he's been pretty good in Tampa, It's been a playoff team. He's turned his career around. So 2018 might be my favorite one, my favorite group so far. 2017, Mitchell Trubisky, Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes. Trubisky was a miss. We know that. Deshaun Watson, I mean, I'm gonna say a miss. I don't know that he's ever gonna regain the form that he once had or anything close to it. He had some good years as a Texan. I mean, so maybe it's that's a coin flip because he was really good as a Texan. I mean, he was a top 5 quarterback as a Texan. And then Patrick Mahomes, well, that speaks for itself. So actually quite a few hits. If you look over the past, several years, almost going back a decade. Let's go back a decade just to round it out. 2016, Jared Goff, Carson Wentz, Paxton Lynch. Goff, the best of that group for sure. And then 2015, Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota. I remember that year. That was one of the biggest, just like most polarizing drafts as far as quarterbacks go between Winston and Mariota. I mean, arguably Winston has had the better career. He's had the better career from a fantasy perspective for sure. But yeah, and the last decade for me, it's got to be 2018, the best year for quarterbacks. Again, that was Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, and Lamar Jackson. If not the best, then my favorite. But I think it is probably the best. So Sanders and Ward have a lot to live up to, potentially. We've had some good quarterback years in recent history. We've had some good years at RosterWatch in recent history, and we hope you've been here for them. We hope you'll be here for them. Stay tuned for Alex and Cody. Probably talking about something completely different. Now for something completely different. Until then, this has been the Trash Man on behalf of RosterWatch.com. Until next time, be ready.
This is Anthony Richardson, and you're listening to RosterWatch.